Well guys, we had a pile of rain yesterday. As you can see as I'm walking to the river, the yard is flooded. We got a couple of cranes down there. Not sure if you can see them. They're whooping at me. But the river has come up dramatically. Yard is flooded. There they go. And yeah, so we spent last night in the basement with tornado warnings. Lost a tree or so, had some 70-mile-an-hour winds. And we got a Wednesday nighter tonight, which I just kind of wanted to see what the river looked like, because we're gonna use the tin boat. The big boat is having some maintenance done. I got my 20-hour checkup, so I don't have it for today. And you can see we are flooding pretty good here. This is the yard. Got my big striker boots on. Golly. So I'm not sure how much rain we got. We got probably 3 inches, I think is what they said. The river went from being low to being high. It's not out of the banks, so that's decent. Definitely got some current ripping, but it's up probably 2 feet, it looks like, for sure. It's definitely just starting to creep up into the yard. But I figure I'd do a couple of things. One, just to kind of talk a little bit about when you've got flooding conditions like this, how do you deal with it? And it really, honestly, as long as it's still in the banks, the river becomes much more predictable, because the fish are going to be looking to get out of that main center part of the channel and push up into areas that are a little bit more slack. So generally speaking, you've got 2 options with that. One is you find the downstream side of a ledge or a lip, so you actually have the current, you know, you've got a drop off, it drops down, the fish will get right behind that, let the current go over the top, or those fish push in closer to the bank. And I know from fishing off the shore here, one thing that happens all the time when the river comes up, those fish that are out in the center prefer to slide in. So we don't have any real big holes in the river. They prefer to slide up to the bank. And it's interesting because it's pretty much all the species. So the smallmouth will generally get tight to the bank. The walleye will get to, like, I don't know if you guys can see it, but about where that log is, so that's probably 20 feet off the bank. The walleye like to slide in this area because that's about on this bank where the current slightly slows up a little bit. So the walleye still like to have some current. They'll slide in, and the same thing will happen with, like, even a lot of the rough fish. You'll get a bunch of the carp, they'll get right on the bank, start running the bank. The only fish I haven't really seen be that affected are your sturgeon and the catfish. They seem to still be out quite a bit out in the middle of the current. But just to kind of go down my own bank to kind of show it, and if you're a local angler, you probably fish it because it's a pretty good bank to fish. We see bass guys all the time. But so, you know, when you've got any sort of current break like that tree, so that tree is normally not in the water, but you can see that's completely slack water right in this whole area. So those fish will just, the smallmouth will pull up behind that. You know, if I walk down the bank, and we've got a rock bank, this stuff is never in the water. Like that tree right there, that's always out of the water. It is now in the water, and you got 2 feet of fishable water there. Same thing goes for some of the tall grass. This grass right here has got 2 foot of water, if not more, on it right now, and those fish will pull right up into that grass. So this is local otter lives in there. So then you start coming down, and here's a different piece of structure. So this is a lay down tree that's laying on the surface, and this is actually floating, because if the water drops, that tree will fall down and be more at a 45-degree angle. In this case, the water came up, it floated up with it. Not an ideal piece of structure because the current is still flowing under it. Now, your base, right in the corner there, would be your prime area. Out here on the tip, which might be better in low current times, not going to be that good right now. So you want to recognize that as well. You know, if I come down a little bit more, these are kind of little sweet spots too. So in this case, again, this is a rock bank, and there used to be a big tree here. That tree fell, and when it fell, this big kind of, the root ball left this big indention right here. And these indentions are going to be key areas too. So if your current is coming down the bank and you have a little dip in like this, there'll be fish that are sitting right in that. And then the last kind of key piece of structure here are your bushes like this. A bush can be a really good thing to fish as well, because they're big enough and bulky enough where the current's going to push off of that and separate. A lot of times though, the fish are actually going to be sitting higher up behind the bushy part versus down lower behind the little stem that's not actually deflecting current. Pretty interesting how that changes though. But in this case, you've got the fish will really move back and forth. You know, I don't think people realize how much fish relate to the current, whether it's a river or a man-made lake. Even if it's a man-made reservoir where you have decent current flow, those fish rely on that. But they're definitely sliding up and down. They just kind of want to find the right current speed. I feel like most species, depending on time of year, have really specific sweet spots with respect to the current flow that they want. If it's too fast, they'll try to find slower. If it's too slow, they'll try to find faster. In the summer months, right now our water temp is still in the low to mid 60s. Fish are more in the spawn stage. In the summer months, your smallmouth a lot of times will be looking for the fastest current. So maybe not a bank like this where I've got really slower water along the whole bank. They might be looking for the fastest current that hits the bank and has one little isolated little eddy. Those are the types of things that the fish are going to be looking for. But that fluctuates. As the water cools again in the fall, they'll start moving to some of these banks that have slower moving water to get out of some of that current, because they don't want to expel that much energy in the cold water, but their energy levels are just lower because it's cold water and fish are cold-blooded. So it's pretty cool. Like in this case, I'm actually surprised the river's not up more. I think it will come up more since the rain was last night. It hasn't fully come down yet, so I expect it to continue to rise. For tonight's Wednesday nighter, it'll be a little different. You know, generally speaking, I love to fish the heavier current, but in this case, I'm probably gonna look to get out of the current, because we're still talking about a lot of fish that are in that spawning phase. So we'll see. You guys will be able to watch the Wednesday nighter, see how Hank and I do. Duke will not be fishing with us tonight. He broke his collarbone this past Friday, so I'm not taking him tonight, probably next week. We still are in that phase where we need him not to fall, trip, or do anything that could potentially damage it more. So we'll miss him on the Wednesday nighter, but we're gonna go out, Hank and I, today, try to find a few fish. Hopefully the river doesn't come up too much more, and see what we can do. But I just figured I'd come down, do a quick video, kind of walk you through the things that I look for anytime I'm fishing a river. So thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned, we'll have a new one tomorrow for you.